Ukraine's emergency service crew are dousing a fire in Lviv. This was caused by a Russian drone attack. Local officials say Russia struck 3 industrial warehouses, setting them ablaze and killing at least 1 person. Ukraine's Air Force said Russia had launched a total of 30 drones and 1 ballistic missile on Ukraine overnight. A blast has rocked the local government headquarters of the Russian-held part of Ukraine's Donetsk region. Local reports confirmed that a series of blasts could be heard at the headquarters. This was confirmed by the region's Russia-installed governor. He said that the central part of Donetsk had come under fire. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has arrived in New York ahead of the 78th session of the United Nations General Assembly. He's set to deliver a speech at the UNGA and meet US President Joe Biden. It's Zelensky's second visit to the US since Russia launched an invasion on Ukraine in February 2022. The US has supplied Kyiv with weapons and other forms of aid to continue its fight against Moscow. Canada blamed India for the murder of a Khalistan supporter. Ottawa said that it has credible information linking Indian government agents to the murder of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Following the accusation, Canada expelled a senior Indian diplomat. India has denied the accusation, calling it absurd. The Khalistan supporter Hardeep Singh Nijjar was shot dead in Canada's British Columbia in June. India has expelled a top Canadian diplomat in a tit-for-tat move. The expelled diplomat is Canada's intelligence agency chief in India, Olivier Sylvester. India summoned the Canadian High Commissioner to announce the expulsion decision. Sylvester has been given 5 days to leave the country. The development is the latest in the escalating row between India and Canada. Meanwhile, India has approved the Women Reservation Bill. Under this bill, there will be a 33% reservation for women in both the lower house of parliament and in state assemblies. The bill has been in legislative limbo for a long time. It was passed in India's upper house of parliament in 2010, but it was not tabled in the lower house until yesterday. Anti-Netanyahu protesters rallied in the American state of California. The Israeli Prime Minister was there to meet tech leaders on the sidelines of the 78th United Nations General Assembly. In January, Netanyahu's government launched a judicial overhaul in Israel. This has triggered unprecedented nationwide protests. Critics say the changes could encourage corruption and abuse of power by removing effective oversight. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken met with Chinese Vice President Han Zheng on Monday. They met on the sidelines of the 78th United Nations General Assembly. The meeting between Blinken and Han was the latest in a series of high-level talks between U.S. and Chinese officials. This comes as both countries work towards stabilizing their strained relationship. Meanwhile, Blinken said that he has spoken to the 5 U.S. citizens who were released from Iran in a prisoner swap deal. He said that their conversation was very emotional. Blinken said, and I quote, "I can tell you that it was for them, for me, an emotional conversation." Yesterday, Iran and the U.S. put a deal in motion to unfreeze $6 billion in Iranian funds and swap 5 prisoners each. Former U.S. President Donald Trump plans to skip the next Republican presidential debate. He'll instead head to Detroit next week. There he'll meet the striking employees of the United Auto Workers Union. If this materializes, this will be the second time Trump will skip the presidential debate in this election cycle. China has dismissed the existence of a median line in the Taiwan Strait. This comes after Taiwan's defense ministry said it detected a record 103 Chinese warplanes flying around the island in a 24-hour period. Taiwan is a self-governed island, however, China views it as its own territory. Beijing has time and again threatened to seize Taiwan by force. Australia is set to upgrade its maritime surveillance fleet. The Australian government has said that it will purchase new drones. It will also upgrade the existing patrol and response aircraft. This is part of a $900 million deal. Australia is overhauling its defense capabilities at a time when China is asserting its dominance over Taiwan and the South China Sea. The Latin American country of Peru has declared a state of emergency in 3 districts. This is because the districts have seen a large spike in crime. Peru's President Dina Boluarte says the emergency declaration will allow the military to enforce security in the region. Recently, several attacks were reported there, including one where a grenade was thrown into a nightclub. Meanwhile, at least 24 people were killed in a passenger bus accident in Peru. Peru's Transportation Supervisory Agency has confirmed the crash. However, it has not given details on the number of fatalities. In a similar case in January, at least 24 people died after a bus plunged off a cliff. Protests broke out in the Libyan city of Derna. Angry protesters set fire to the house of Derna's mayor. The mayor was in charge when the recent floods took place. The protesters were demanding accountability from the authorities. The demonstrations come a week after floods wreaked havoc in Libya. Thousands of people were killed and entire neighborhoods were destroyed. In climate news, the southern part of Chile is facing torrential rains. At least 2 people have been killed and 1 is missing. Authorities have launched rescue operations for people trapped under debris following a landslide. Over 11,000 people were stranded. Dozens of houses were destroyed over the weekend. London Mayor Sadiq Khan has said that the city faces the prospect of enduring days of 45 degrees Celsius temperatures. This will reportedly happen in the foreseeable future. This is due to the worsening climate crisis. Khan said the authorities are planting more trees and installing air conditioners on buses. He pointed out that more government support is required to adapt to the climate crisis. In July last year, temperatures in London breached the 40 degrees Celsius mark for the first time. Brazil's largest city, Sao Paulo, is bracing for a heat wave. Temperatures are expected to soar in the coming days. An artist has installed a 3D model of 3 giant fried eggs across Sao Paulo. This aims to warn people against global warming and climate change. Hundreds of climate protesters gathered at the Federal Reserve Bank in New York. They called for an end to funding for oil, gas and coal. The police arrested several protesters. This comes just 1 day after the largest climate march was held in the US since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. The protest is happening at a time when world leaders are gathering in New York for the 78th session of the United Nations General Assembly. Several world leaders met on the opening day of the 2023 Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, summit on Monday. It was held at the United Nations headquarters in New York. France's Minister for Europe and Foreign Affairs pointed out that the factors that have undermined progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals. She called upon the upcoming 2024 Paris Olympic Games to contribute to progressing the SDGs. Now on to business and tech. The Indian rupee depreciated for the 4th straight day. On Monday, it hit an all-time low against the US dollar at 83.29. This was mainly due to global market trends and rising crude oil prices. A strong American currency and a negative trend in India's domestic equities also weighed on investor sentiments. America's United Auto Workers Union said it could announce strikes at more plants. This is if no serious progress is made in talks with the Detroit 3 automakers by Friday. Last week, the UAW launched a strike against Ford, General Motors and Stellantis. So far, they have targeted 1 American assembly plant of each company. South Korean automaker Hyundai has reached a wage deal with its union workers. This will boost the workers' annual pay by about 12%. The union had also demanded an increase in the retirement age, but that was not accepted. The deal averts a potential strike that could have led to production losses at Hyundai. Reports say Saudi Arabia is in early talks with US electric automaker Tesla. The electric vehicle maker is reportedly seeking to set up a manufacturing facility in the country. However, Tesla CEO Elon Musk took to social media to deny the news. In May, Musk said Tesla would probably pick a location for a new factory by the end of this year. Ride-hailing platform Lyft has agreed to pay a fine of $10 million. This is to settle charges posed by the U.S. markets regulator, the Securities and Exchange Commission. The SEC has accused Lyft of failing to disclose a board member's financial interest in a transaction. This transaction also involves the company itself. However, Lyft did not disclose this in its regulatory filing as is required. Starbucks is facing a new lawsuit. The lawsuit claims that its fruit drinks lack a key ingredient, that is, fruit. Consumers have complained that the company's refreshers didn't contain the advertised mango or passion fruit. They say they have been overcharged for fruit drinks with misleading names. However, Starbucks argues that the drink names describe their flavors, not their ingredients. Department store Macys has said it would hire more than 38,000 full and part-time workers. This is for the upcoming holiday season in the US as it gears up for a busy shopping period. However, this is much lower than the retailer's holiday hires in the past 2 years. Last year, Macys had said it would recruit about 41,000 employees. Meanwhile, in 2021, the number stood at 76,000. The European Commission's Vice President has said that businesses in the region are concerned about China's data laws. This includes the lack of clarity in the regulations. They are also concerned about the long processes that companies have to undergo. In July, China expanded its counter-espionage law that would also affect companies. It banned the transfer of any information related to national security and broadened the definition of spying. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke with Elon Musk yesterday. Netanyahu urged Musk to balance out free speech and fight hate speech on his social media platform X, formerly known as Twitter. This comes after weeks of controversy over anti-Semitic content on the social media site. Musk responded by saying that he was against anti-Semitism and anything that promotes hate and conflict. Netanyahu and Musk also spoke about advancement in the field of artificial intelligence. Meanwhile, Musk floated the idea that X may no longer be a free site. He said this during his conversation with Netanyahu. Musk said the company was, quote-unquote, moving to a small monthly payment. He said this will help fight the problem of bots on the platform. Moving to sports. In cricket, India have recalled spinner Ravichandran Ashwin for the upcoming one-day international series against Australia. Senior players Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli have been rested. In addition, Hardik Pandya and Kuldeep Yadav have also been rested. Batter KL Rahul will don the role of India's captain for the three-match series. The first ODI will be played on the 22nd of September. Meanwhile, Australia too have announced their squad for the one-day international series against India. Batter Steve Smith, who has recovered from an injury, has been called up. Pacers Pat Cummins and Mitchell Starc have been kept in the squad. Australia are also bringing 5 uncapped players for the three-match ODI series. In football, Spain's women's team is continuing with their protest against the Royal Spanish Football Federation. 15 players from the World Cup's winning team have refused to join the national squad despite getting their call-ups. The players are saying that they will continue their strike until actions are taken to make them feel safe. The protests come after Spain's football chief Luis Rubiales resigned. This was after facing backlash for kissing player Jenny Hermoso without her consent. Meanwhile, Hermoso has been dropped from the Spanish squad. Spain face Sweden in the upcoming women's UEFA match on the 22nd of September. In the Premier League, Nottingham Forest drew 1-1 with Burnley in yesterday's match. Striker Zeki Amdouni scored for Burnley in the 41st minute, but Forest came back with an equaliser from Callum Hudson-Odoi in the 61st. The draw helped Burnley secure their first point this season. German midfielder Julian Draxler is leaving his current club Paris Saint-Germain. Draxler spent the last season playing for Portuguese side Benfica after falling out with the PSG management. He has now signed a 2-year contract with Qatari club Al Ahly. The financial details of the deal have not been disclosed. Thousands of Iranian fans surrounded the bus which had Cristiano Ronaldo in it. Ronaldo is in Iran's capital Tehran along with his Saudi side Al Nassr. Fans created an endless chain from the airport to Ronaldo's hotel. Al Nassr is scheduled to play Iranian club Persepolis later tonight. Major League Soccer has banned Montreal midfielder Matko Miljevic. This is after he was found guilty of using a fake name to play for an amateur team. Miljevic played 3 games for a friend's team in Quebec's local games and scored 6 goals. Montreal have confirmed that the 22-year-old midfielder has been removed from the club. In tennis, world number 1 Novak Djokovic has withdrawn from the Shanghai Masters. He made the announcement on his social media. The Serb said he wanted to take a break from the sport to give himself some rest. 36-year-old Djokovic has won the Shanghai Masters 4 times in the past. In weightlifting, India's Mirabai Chanu did not complete her lifts at the World Championships. She completed the 49-kilogram weigh-in but opted out of lifting. Chanu said she did this to protect herself from injury ahead of the Asian Games. The Asian Games begin on the 23rd of September. Running back Nick Chubb has been ruled out for the season in the US National Football League or NFL. This is after he suffered a horrific knee injury. A defender made a tackle on Chubb and delivered a hit to his legs. He remained on the ground for several minutes before being escorted off the field on a cart. The incident was so severe that broadcasters chose not to show replays of the tackle. Chubb is an offensive player for the Cleveland Browns. In entertainment news, American comedian and writer Bill Maher will not return with his talk show called Real Time. Maher has paused the production for now. This happened as the Writers Guild of America and Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers are working to set a time for a new round of negotiations. The WGA has been on strike since May. Earlier, Maher had said he would bring back his talk show without writers. American actor and comedian Sherri Shepherd is back with the second season of her talk show called Sherri. This comes amid the ongoing Hollywood writers and actors strike. Shepherd defended her decision to go ahead with the premiere. She said her show is not crossing any picket lines as it is not a show that aligns with the Writers Guild of America. She added that writers who worked on her show fall under a different union contract code. Talent company Tavistock Wood has cut ties with comedian Russell Brand. This happened after Brand was accused of rape and sexual assault. In an interview, the agency said, and I quote, "Russell Brand categorically and vehemently denied the allegations made in 2020, but we now believe we were horribly misled by him." In 2020, one of the accusers had reached out to Tavistock Wood and opened up about Brand's crimes. Legendary director John Waters has been honored with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Waters rose to fame with his controversial independent movies like Pink Flamingos and Female Trouble. He found mainstream success with his movie Hairspray. The Academy Museum of Motion Pictures has launched a new exhibition dedicated to the filmmaker. Pop singer Katy Perry has monetized her musical legacy by signing a multi-million-dollar deal with an agency called Litmus Music. She sold the rights to 5 of her albums that were released under Capitol Music from 2008 to 2020. These include the albums One of the Boys, Prism and Smile. Katy Perry has a long-standing working relationship with Litmus Music's co-founder Dan McCarroll, who served as Capitol Music's president in 2010. American singer Ariana Grande and her husband Dalton Gomez have officially filed for a divorce. The news of the divorce comes amid rumors that Grande is now in a relationship with actor Ethan Slater. The two have been working together on the movie Wicked. Ariana Grande and Dalton Gomez got married in 2021 in a private ceremony. The two separated in July this year. Singer Adele has clarified and given an update on her relationship with sports agent Rich Paul. During her concert, Adele told fans that her husband was there, referring to Paul. Adele and Paul went public with their romance in 2021. However, the two continued to keep their relationship private. Adele was earlier married to British entrepreneur Simon Konecki. They had a falling out in 2019. K-pop singer Rowoon has left the band SF9 to focus on his acting career and solo projects. Rowoon is currently working on a K-drama called Destined With You. He's also gearing up for another K-drama called Wedding Match. SF9 will now return as an 8-member group. American singer Irish Grinstead recently passed away at the age of 43. Her sister and co-band member Lemisha Grinstead took to Instagram to announce the news. Last year, a formal announcement was made that said Irish Grinstead was battling serious health issues and was taking a break. The artist is known for the 1999 hit song Where My Girl's At. "31-year-old model Melissa Mooney was found dead at her apartment in Los Angeles in the US. Her body was found on September 12th. The cause of her death is unclear, but the police are investigating it as a homicide case. The police found Mooney after they went to her house for a welfare check. This was after her family members informed them that they had not been able to contact Mooney for a week. Mooney's sister, who's a Guyanese singer, took to social media to pay tribute.